So over at the Avdiivka front, the Russian forces, according to the Russian sources, according to Ryba say that the Ukrainians are actually on the counterattack, and in fact the Ukrainians even taken some grounds back. I'm not sure. To be honest, it's starting to get a bit confusing because seems like Ryba is a bit like always a 2 days backwards. But anyway, the situation did not really resulted in any kind of frontline changes despite their claims, because they don't even want to show the map, so I can't really even reference that. The Russians are attacking towards Novokalinove, Badaichi, Avdiivka, Tonenke, as well as Pervomaisky and Nevelsky. Ukrainian forces are counter-attacking at Pervomaisky, towards Zheveny, at Tonenke, Avdiivka, Badaichi, and towards Stepove. And as you can see, the Ukrainian arrows are more and more concentrated. There is this massive push by the Ukrainians. So probably this is why the Russian side is talking about a Ukrainian counteroffensive and even taken some ground. But I think the ground that they're talking about is like not much. It's really, really small. So which they don't even bother to show a map of what was it. No, it could be just all within the gray zone. So we'll definitely look at this. The turn of the tide has been turned, so we have the turn of the tide, the turn of the tide of the turn of the tide. So we will continue to wait and see how long the Ukrainians can continue to keep up with this counteroffensive over at the Avdiivka front. Definitely they are holding the line, at the very least that's holding the line. The lines are not moving, so the Ukrainians are doing as best as they could, and the Russians are definitely still holding on, and 100% the Russians have absolute advantage against the Ukrainians. So I do not sure why some of you viewers are coping so hard on the pro-Russian side. It's like, why can't the enemy the side that you don't support do well? There's still a war, right? So anyway, military summary geolocator FPV drone attack over at Umansky against armored vehicles. As I mentioned, the fighting is still very fierce in this region. The Ukrainians are putting a lot of eggs into this basket, and they are very determined to not let the Russians break through. As I mentioned before, this area here, this area in the Avdiivka front, this is actually like a weak spot that the Russians can actually pour through. So the Ukrainians are definitely trying to plug the hole. And I want to also highlight there's a reason for all these attacks, these counterattacks. This is to allow the Ukrainians to establish more time to reinforce the line in the second line. So this is actually around the first line of defense after the fall of Avdiivka city. So after this line fall, they need to fall back onto the second line. And the second line seems to be very underprepared, according to Ukrainian sources. I'm talking about like Ukrainian, like Deep State UA was talking about it. So all these counterattacks over in these regions here are probably to give time for the combat engineers to do what they can in the rear. So, which is why, I believe that this is the main purpose of the counterattack. I don't believe the Ukrainians are able to entirely capture the 3 villages and then push the Russian back into Avdiivka city. I think that's a bit too much to ask for. Clearly they can, but then they won't be able to hold it for long as well. So the Russians will just fight back and then take back the 3 and cause the battle to return back to the 3 villages. So anyway, we will continue to monitor and see how this progress. And moving on, over the New York front, the Ukrainian forces are still active in this region here, with fighting reported in Druzhba, near Druzhba, as well as Shumi. Russian counterattack at Mayorsk. So this is the battle is now raging around this area here. I don't think the Russians are going to attack into Torets. So this is just going to be skirmishes. And now moving into the Bakhmut front, this